This is the much delayed follow-up to the previous course, the previous introduction on copywriting. Today, I'm going to be a little more focused on exactly why now is a good time to be a copywriter and how exactly to become a copywriter if you have not been in marketing in the past or if you have not had a writing profession in the past. So the structure is essentially, first I'm going to introduce what is good about being a copywriter today. Then I'm going to tell you a few methods that can help you get your first clients. And finally, I'm going to give you a little shortcut, like a fast track method to getting into copywriting. So I should probably introduce myself first. If you saw my last video, you're probably a little bit familiar with me, but you probably don't know who I am. I've been copywriting for about 6 years now. I am more focused on the financial sector these days. I'm slowly weaning my way off of copywriting in favor of trading because it's simply more money. Not to say that I don't like copywriting. I really do like writing. I feel if I don't write something every day, there's something missing in my day. So I still do copywriting. It's a good job. It allowed me to get the funding I needed to start trading. I now am doing more of the business side of things. I'm not the person who's writing for other businesses. I'm now writing for my own businesses mainly. But the point is, well, I have background in this area, and I came from a place where you are likely coming from now. I started out with nothing, with no copywriting experience. I had some writing experience, of course, but basically I came from making pretty much no money after I was done with grad school to making a sustainable living simply working from home, getting freelance copywriting clients. And that might not be the path for you. I'm just saying it's possible. Other people prefer to get a position in a company where they have one stable client essentially, which is, their employer, and they stick with that company for a while and then move up in the ranks or whatever. A lot of these big marketing companies hire copywriters as in like a hierarchy. So they'll have a junior copywriter and a senior copywriter, that kind of stuff. And you can easily get into one of those companies if you have a decent resume. I'm going to show you how to build that resume with some clients today. I have written a guide called How to Get High-Paying Copywriting Clients. This is only available through my website. I will talk about it more at the end of this presentation. Now, in terms of what kind of clients I've gotten them from pretty much every sector. So I know, the differences between different industries. For example, if you are writing for the financial sector, there's a lot of regulations you got to deal with. The same thing is true in health. I actually branded myself as a men's copywriter, quote unquote, before I got into the financial sector, and that got me a lot of weird business opportunities, mainly in the fitness and health area and some stuff like penis enlargement pills. But I've been through a lot of these different industries, and I know more or less that when you're doing copywriting and when you're finding clients, it's all the same. You just got to cater a little bit differently in terms of what you write and how you approach your clients. Now that's more of the advanced class, but what I'm going to teach you today pretty much applies to any field. Now, if you want to contact me, you just send me an email at damon@stockbarometer.com. You could also go to my website, damonverial.com, and I believe I have a contact form on there somewhere. You can figure that out. Let's get to the points. The first of which is that copywriting is a growing industry. This is consumer spending. I looked a while for some stats on copywriting specifically, but I couldn't really find it. I found stats on writing, found stats on marketing, but I think this is probably the most pertinent statistic right here, which is consumer spending. It's growing. As consumer spending grows, these companies who are pushing their products, engaging in commerce, do need marketers. And one of the most important aspects of that marketing is having decent copy on their website, having decent copy in their emails, and having decent ads. So this is something they're going to use copywriters for, and they are going to either approach someone like you, if you are well known, or they are going to ask someone else in the industry for a referral. Hopefully you have contacts within the industry, or you are going to prospect them and they will say, okay, that sounds great, let's try it out. Now, all of those three methods are decent methods to getting clients, but the point is, this is a growing pool of clients we are facing, and there's enough to go around for the few copywriters that are getting started each year. Now, another important statistic is that every month you've got 500,000 businesses getting set up. Now, when these businesses get set up, I don't know usually, but I mean, my clients have mainly been independent entrepreneurs or like tiny groups of people, like 3 people starting a company, and they have these ideas. They have perhaps the business experience, they have the funding, but they don't have the marketing skills. And even if they have a great idea, if they have no way of getting that out to people, they know that their investors are going to back off eventually, their funds are going to run out, and the business is going to fail. So at the very beginning, if you prospect them, or if you somehow get in touch with them, you could have a client that grows to I'm not going to pick out certain numbers because there's no promise in anything, but essentially what you're doing is you're acting like an angel investor in a sense, in that when you get in with a company at the beginning, if the company grows, you grow along with it, and the fees you get will simultaneously grow. So what you want to do is you want to take advantage of these new businesses, especially, and contact them when they get started, because it's really hard to get your foot in the door of a bigger company. I have gotten my foot in the door of a bigger company from prospecting, but it's not nearly as easy as getting your foot in the door of a startup. Now, what kind of companies are well prepared and don't need copywriters? Very few. When companies first start out, they don't really have a content production strategy. They don't know where to hold on, phone's going off, really bad time. They don't really know where to focus their marketing budget. A lot of them think we can just run ads and get people to our website, but the fact is, even if people come to the website, you're not going to get a lot of people converting if you have poor copy. Second, if you're not capturing that group of information that is arriving at your site's group of people that is arriving at your site's information, you can't remarket to them. So these are 2 easy areas that you can focus on when you pitch your offer to these startups. You say, hey, statistically, I know that you don't have a content strategy. You don't know how to get people to your site through content. Remember, copywriting can also be SEO copywriting, where you write a long article that attracts people to the website, and then at the end of the article you have a pitch, you have a call to action, or you capture their email somehow in an opt-in form. Now, these are 2 great campaigns you can offer to a startup, and realize that the majority of companies out there don't have such a campaign. So just by flipping a coin and picking, one or a couple companies, you're going to have a company that really does need your help, even if they don't know it yet. Now, put these 2 pieces of information together. Let's say the startups that don't have content production campaigns or even plans. These companies need people like you. And that means what we have each month is about 250,000 businesses that are in dire need of copywriters, even if they don't know it yet. So I don't think that every month we have that many new copywriters. Therefore, you can say there's probably about 10,000 businesses per every copywriter that starts up each month, and that's assuming that there's 20,000 copywriters, 20,000 people becoming copywriters each month, which is probably highly unlikely. The point is, there is no drought in copywriting clients. I am personally overbooked. I am getting people who have been contacting me for a while, asking me if I can work on their project yet. I've been pushing it back simply because I don't have enough time. Um, if you become a copywriter, when you first start out, you're going to think, oh man, I just need one client. But then later, after you've gotten that one client and he refers a couple clients and then you've got another client independently, you're going to realize that you can only usually deal, if you're really hardworking, which I'm not at least in copywriting now, but if you're really hardworking, you can maybe do one large project a week. So that's 4 clients a month. If you can find 4 clients per month, you're probably making at least, let's say it's a big project, you're probably making at least $5,000 a month. So we're going to say like each project is at least $1,000. And I'm not saying that that's the standard price. You might charge more, you might charge less. But if you can find 4 clients a month and you can more or less estimate how much each client is going to be spending on you per month, you can more or less predict what you're going to be making as a copywriter. Now, if you're even faster than that, you can of course take on more clients. I generally don't advise that, especially when you start out, because you're going to want to spend a lot of time doing the research. If you saw my last video, my last presentation on this, you realize that copywriters spend a lot of time doing research, arguably more time doing research and editing than actually writing. So this is something that you are going to have to deal with. The fact that you have a client from an industry that you're not familiar with and you need to do some research, find the demographic of this industry. You need to see if this offer is able to be promoted in a way that allows testimonials and that kind of stuff. You got to research the regulations, you got to research the company, research the demographics. And if you already have funding to start out your own independent copywriting business, something I would have done if I had more money when I first started out would have been to hire someone to do that research for me, so I wouldn't spend so much time on the research and I could just spend time on writing and editing, which is really what you should be paid for. But you also do need research because sometimes you'll find a certain insight on a project that will allow your client to benefit greatly. Now, let's get to the meat of this presentation, which is probably why most people clicked on this YouTube video, and that is, how do you get into copywriting? How do you find your first clients? Now, I'm not going to talk about education. I never really do talk about education when I talk about becoming a copywriter. If you have basic grammar, like you have to have good grammar, but if you have basic grammar, if you are a decent conversationalist, you can hold a conversation with somebody, you just use that tone with your grammar skills. You can write decent copy, at least in terms of flavor, in terms of style. And then you use whatever education you've used, books, courses on copywriting to turn that piece of writing into a sales letter. So, I mean, that's something you can learn from practice. That's something you can learn from being hired by another copywriter who outsources his work. I'm not sure how many people do that. I personally don't. But when I first started out, I actually started prospecting to other copywriters, more well-known copywriters, asking them, if you have any extra work, would you be able to give me some so I can learn and take some of the load off of you in the process and also get paid as well. And that actually taught me quite a few things, because you get to see right away how clients request work, what clients are looking for, and you also get the senior copywriter, the person who hired you, will probably edit your work, so you'll see what you and he did differently and be able to integrate that into your future writing style. So there's a lot of different things you can do to educate yourself to become a good copywriter, but the most important part, undeniably, of being a copywriter is finding clients, unless of course you've been hired by a company, but still you've got to get hired by that company. So the first way, the most obvious way to get into copywriting is by prospecting companies, or prospecting, like I said, other copywriters, and trying to take some of their load, some of their burden off of them and get paid in the process while you get educated. But I'm not going to focus on prospecting to other copywriters here. What I'm going to do now is talk about actually getting a business as a client. There are many ways of prospecting. I'm going to go through each one of them. The first is cold calling. For cold calling, you'll need a script, or you'll need at least a general flow of what to say. There are two cold calling methods. I have created this paradigm myself. The first cold calling method is what you're going to find in pretty much any sales book, where you call someone up and then you're basically passive to them. You listen to everything they say, you listen to all their objections, and then you say, "Sir, blah blah blah, can I? How would this? Blah blah blah." You're basically starting out as someone on a lower level, and a lower social level when you call. And a lot of big CEOs actually like that. They think, okay, this guy's gonna work for me. That's great. So some people like that method of cold calling. I prefer another approach where it's more of the hard sell that you'd see on. You'd probably see if you saw, what is it, Wolf of Wall Street, how they try to hard sell those stock. That's another way of cold calling, where you just call in and say, okay, check this out. Here's what I saw for your website. Here are the problems with it. I can fix these for you. Take it or leave it. Something like that. Okay. You're going to have to do some research on exactly which way you want to go, and you're going to have to hone whatever script or whatever flowchart you've created so that it suits your personality, and so that it also converts, so that you're also getting people to agree. Now, I personally don't do cold calling anymore. If I need some extra money and I need some extra clients, I will either, I'll talk about this later, but I won't cold call. I totally don't cold call anymore, simply because cold calling is too time consuming for me. Cold calling does work because you do get some people who you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. You wouldn't get people who are coming to you and saying, hey, please hire, or please work with me, I want to hire you as a copywriter. But you're getting people who are super busy and otherwise wouldn't have the time to seek you out. And those people are often possessing more money than the people who are responding more easily to whatever ads you're putting out on the internet or in your local paper or whatever. Okay, so cold calling does work. Now, where to find numbers? That depends on the industry you're targeting. I would simply go to Google search, type in whatever industry you're targeting, plus a area. Your local area is the best. So if you live in Seattle and you are targeting, like video production companies, you'd say video production Seattle into Siri or whatever, and then get all of these phone numbers and start cold calling them. Now, if you have listened to sales material before, you will have heard that it's best to contact a company before 6 a.m. or after 6 p.m. because that's when the owner will be there without any gatekeepers. I've actually found that not to be so true. If I call too early or too late, either nobody picks up the phone, or the person says, that I'm calling too late or too early. I actually called someone's cell phone before, and he said, and I pretty much lost the job because I called too early. He's like, "Do you think this is a responsible time to be calling me?" But then again, I mean, if he's in bed at 6 a.m., he might not be a good businessman, right? Or he could have just been out partying, getting drunk with his business friends. Who knows? The point is, you need to find that sweet spot, that sweet time for calling. I prefer lunchtime. That's really the best because honestly, a lot of people do work through lunch or work while they're having lunch, and that's really a good time to get the person who's the head of making these decisions while the gatekeepers are out at lunch. Okay, that's cold calling. Second is reaching out to neighborhood businesses. You might just want to walk around, see if there are businesses that you would like to work with. Just walk in the door and make your pitch. Make sure you have some business cards to leave with them. I've done this for a couple businesses, but I haven't gotten any results through it. But it is an idea that you might want to try out. You can also, an idea that I had before, but I never acted upon it, is taking all of the flyers you get around your local area, or taking all of the junk mail you get from whatever local business is, and actually calling them back and saying, "I got your flyer. It's not very good." You're going to use more polite terms, but you'll say, "It's not very good. I can help you with this. I have this experience," and blah, 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 blah. Okay. The third is prospecting to your LinkedIn contacts. I'm talking about LinkedIn instead of Facebook or Twitter simply because I usually use LinkedIn. You might want to try Facebook if you have good connections through that, but if you're using social media and these people are connected with you in some way, the lead is not so cold. It's not like a cold call where they don't know who you are. You actually have some sort of connection. So in LinkedIn, we have all these groups, and I don't recommend you join copywriting groups. I recommend you join the groups that fall within the industry that you target. So if you are targeting, pet owner or pet shops, pet food stores, and stuff like that, join these pet store owner groups, something like that. And then, you can have these connections through the groups. You can connect to people because they are in your group, and then you send them, you might just want to go spend an hour on LinkedIn sending emails, or whatever that's called, sending messages through LinkedIn to your contacts and telling them about your business and about how you can help them. I have actually gotten a few clients, big clients, through LinkedIn. There's also a method to contact people you don't know called InMail. It costs money, but it does allow you to get in contact with people that are basically hiding themselves or protecting themselves from being contacted by everybody on LinkedIn, simply because they would be too popular. So InMail is a useful way of contacting businesses you really want to work with, probably something that's big in your area, or maybe a few of the biggest heads of marketing in your industry. You can send them an email and give them your pitch that way. Fourth is job boards. When I first started out, I did get quite a few jobs from Craigslist. So you can use job boards. I don't like Craigslist because, first of all, it is segmented off by locale. So if you are just looking for local clients, that's fine. But if you want to look all across America and take more of a shotgun approach, you just have to go, city by city through those job boards. So I prefer job boards that are more focused on marketing. There are quite a few of them, and if you're interested in them, you can ask me. You can send me an email. I'll give you a couple links. But these job boards are not for you to post your expertise on. They're for people to request, usually writers, marketing specialists, or salespeople. And I would just go ahead and respond to them only if they have email. If they send you to a link to apply for a job, I don't think that's going to be very fruitful unless you're looking for long-term employment. So find those job postings that have, contact us at gmail.com or whatever. Contact those email addresses with a pitch, and you can actually get quite a few jobs that way. I find that the jobs posted on job boards tend to be more short-term. They don't lead to long-term clients, and they tend to pay less, but they are quite decent for people like you starting out. And actually, you're competing with a bunch of, at least on Craigslist, you're competing with a bunch of, what's a nice way to put it, human garbage. I have contacted a lot of people who gave me jobs through these job boards, and they told me that pretty much everyone else they hired or talked to on Craigslist couldn't either couldn't type English properly, or they would outsource the work, or they would they'd outsource the work to an Indian, so it would come back all improper. And another guy said that what happened was, I wrote some SEO copywriting for his, what was it? I think it was like a luxury, I forget. Here's the point. He said that the previous guy he hired was fired because that previous guy went to Forbes magazine, copied and pasted an article out of Forbes, and then sent it as his work. So you're really competing with the lowest common denominator here, and if you have a decent pitch, it's going to be easy to get a job from a place like Craigslist. Fifth is free critiques, which is one of the main forms that I use in my later years in copywriting that got me a lot of good clients. It's a little more time consuming because you actually have to look at where this company is making mistakes, usually on the website or off the website through their ads or whatever backlinks they're doing. And you can send them an email through either the contact form of their website, or if you know the person's email address or perhaps his profile on LinkedIn, you can send a critique through there. The idea here is that you find the weak points and you point them out and you explain why they're weak points. Then, after you do that, you tell them how you can fix them. Now, you give them free advice at the beginning. You might give them 3 pieces of free advice saying, your headline here sucks. Of course, you don't say it like this. You can improve your headline by doing this. The visual layout of the website has a problem here. Your ad that's running over here is focused on the wrong demographic. You give them this free advice, and then at the very end, you say, if you'd like to discuss more, let's talk. Let's get on the phone and talk. And then you can actually get on the phone and do less of a cold call and more of a hot call or a warm call. And for me, I would say probably 90% of the people I talk to after the free critiques, if I get them on the phone, I can close them. I can get a deal. So that is probably my go-to prospecting method if I were just starting out. And that last thing right there, contact forms, actually connects with free critiques. So if you're going to use prospecting, these are your options. If you're just starting out, I would say focus on getting your first clients no matter what the quality. Don't worry about which method you're using. Try a little bit of each. Probably the best for someone starting out, the easiest anyway, is either job boards or the free critiques. Now, the second way to get into copywriting is lead generation. This requires a little bit more time. Not in the long term, but in the short term. And it also requires usually some investment. And the best way to do a lead generation campaign is to create a website, create a free offer. Then you, on the website, give that free offer in exchange for some sort of contact info, which could be email or phone number. Then what you do is you spread the offer online. So you might run SEO to some articles on your website, and then the articles will point to the free offer, or you might have the free offer as a pop-up. You might leave some links in forums. So if you're doing, like, let's say video production copywriting, you go to video production forums, you answer people's questions, you just talk on the forum, but in your signature you link back to that free offer, and the offer might say click here. The link in your signature might say click here to get a free guide on marketing your video production company, and it brings them to your website. Then once people have opted in, they got that free offer, right? What do you do after that? Well, the free offer, you need to hook it up to a automatic email marketing campaign. The whole thing doesn't cost more than $50, I don't think, per month. So basically you have a website, a host, and a service like Aweber or MailChimp that allows you to send your free offer via email automatically after they put in their information. Then, from there, you've got their email address, and you can send them emails one by one, the customized method. That's probably the best because it would convert more. But you have another option where you set up an automated email that says, hey, let's get on the phone and talk about your business. Now, the benefit of this is it doesn't take any of your time after you've got it set up. So if it's all automated, and you've got people coming to your offer, whether it be through advertising or social media, you're going to be getting a flood of, it depends on how many people you get there, but I mean, you're going to be getting a flood of email addresses, which are essentially leads. And those leads are the leads you can now prospect to. They're warm leads. So you call them, and you do the same thing I talked about before when offering critiques. Now, if you're running both lead generation and prospecting, you've got not all your eggs are in one basket. You've got a lot of areas covered, and it's better to do 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 experiments, and have one of them be working than to just focus on one form of getting clients. So try these both out. Creating a website won't take you too long. There's a lot of I am a copywriter websites, but not many of them do lead generation, at least in the correct way. So follow these 5 steps, and you should be able to get at least a few clients your first month if you're running some ads. I got a client my first month through ads doing this exact same thing. And that brings us to our next topic, ads. Online ads can be one of 2 types. They can be an ad that's direct response, where you tell them, contact me right away for help. And the other is the ad that I just talked about, where you tell them to go get something. it's still direct response in a way, but you're getting them to give you their information instead of simply call right away and get started. Now, you're going to find that you need to know how to do both of these ads once you have clients. If you're going to be a freelance copywriter, you're going to find clients who don't really fit into the opt-in free offer category. You're going to find service businesses like computer repair stores that service clients who need help right away. You don't have time to be following up with them through email and stuff like that. They're going to see your ad and they're going to call right away and say, I need my computer fixed. So you have this opportunity to experiment with these two types of advertising so that not only can you find clients, but you can also get some education on how to find clients, for your service type clients. Now, where do you put your ads? Well, there's many places you can put ads. I generally recommend you go with something that's automatic and that is targeted to a specific demographic. There are many online sites that allow you to target specific demographics. Facebook ads do it, YouTube ads do it, Google ads do it. Whatever ad you choose, experiment with it. Try to get a decent number of clicks before you give up on the ad or convert the ad into a different type of ad. So, there's a lot of experimentation around here, and this is all part of copywriting. So if you don't know how to do this stuff, this is something you need to brush up on if you want to be a professional copywriter. You can also send in physical ads. You can send letters, sales letters, to people who you believe would be interested in your services. This is actually how I became a copywriter. I started doing this direct marketing by sending sales letters to a bunch of professors throughout Taiwan to get them to hire me as a translator. So at that time I wasn't a copywriter, but I kind of dipped into copywriting so that I could write these advertisements. And, well, lo and behold, I got more clients that I could handle. And I thought, well, I'm really good at getting clients, but I don't have time to handle them all. So which ones do I translate for, Then I realized after a while, I could probably make more money doing this than I could translating. And that's what got me to shift into copywriting. Now, for you, you're not targeting the same demographic I was targeting. You're probably targeting a lot more difficult of a demographic than I was. I was targeting a demographic that was in dire need of translation but couldn't find enough translators in their area, and they certainly weren't being marketed to. They're professors. They don't have a lot of money to spend, but they do have the school's money to spend on academic related tasks. So think of your demographic. You might find a gold mine within your demographic if you can think of what you have to offer that other people aren't offering. Physical ads do still work, but unlike what a lot of old-time marketers say, these physical mailings aren't as effective as they used to be. Some people have shown statistics that say they are more effective, but I believe that a lot of these people aren't very objective, and they have a motive of showing statistics that back up their more old school style of approaching clients. The truth is, you should be trying pretty much every method if you want to get started right away. So don't ignore physical ads, but also don't put a lot of money into physical ads. They can be quite expensive. Physical ad could just be a sales letter or a postcard, but still sending them out is expensive, and getting the mailing list is even more expensive. A fourth type of advertising is promoting your social media sources. So if you have set up a social media site or profile to brand you as a copywriter, then you might use that social media profile as a form of advertising. So you might do a promoted Facebook post on how businesses can benefit from your services. You might promote your Twitter. You might do a promoted blog post on LinkedIn. I think you can do that. I'm not sure. But it all goes in some direction of building your brand while still getting people to see that opportunity of direct response. So you would say, okay, here's my blog post that shows I'm a good copywriter, but it also, at the very end, urges the readers to contact me. The fifth thing here is a little more complicated. You probably can't figure it out just by looking at what it says, but the idea is this. Let's say you are in, let's go back to the video production industry. Let's say you are trying, all right, forget that. Think of it like this. People who are dealing with the clients you want to deal with also need clients. These could be freelancers that are, for example, graphic designers. Now, a lot of copywriters really do need to work closely with graphic designers, whether they're in-house or out of the house, outsourced. If you can find a couple graphic designers that cater to your industry, say video production designers, and say, I'm a copywriter, you're a graphic designer. If I get referrals, if I have clients, I can send them your way if they need graphic design. Likewise, I'm here for you if you have any clients who need copywriting. And this becomes a synergistic relationship to where you're both helping each other out, get new clients, and you can actually work together on certain projects as well. Now, in a lot of different industries, there are different types of relationships you can form. You might, I don't want to specify certain jobs to certain professions to form connections with, because really it depends on what you want to do, what you niche yourself as in copywriting. So if you are going to be, a pet copywriter, you might actually want to go into pet stores and say, if you find anybody, you say the owner, if you find anybody buying wholesale from you, going through wholesale from you, I would be very interested in meeting that person. And at the same time, I can also help you with some free advertising, right? So you're basically giving them something for free while they give you something for free. Those kind of relationships can go far, and they can bring you a lot of clients. So here is my suggested copywriting track, the fast track to becoming a copywriter. And I'm not even going to talk about education because, like I said, education is something you can get on the job. You can actually get a free education by offering your services for free to clients. And that's what I did at the very, very beginning when I was first practicing how to write a sales letter so that I can send out, so that I can improve my sales letters for my translation job. I contacted some local restaurants in my hometown of Seattle, and I asked them if they wanted free copywriting done, free sales letters, and that's what I did for a while. And from that, you can build some references. You can also build a brief portfolio. But that's not the track I'm going to recommend here. I'm just saying that's something on the side you can do in your free time. Now, the suggested copywriting track here is, first of all, to develop your unique selling proposition, which is more or less, what is it that you have special that most other people don't? Now, for me, at the very beginning, because I did my graduate school in Taiwan, so I must speak Chinese. I also did graduate school as a psychology major, and I have a background in statistics. Statistics was my bachelor's degree major. So I have a very useful background for copywriting, and I can also do copywriting cross cultures. I can do copywriting in Chinese. But more importantly, I narrowed it down to one aspect. So you could have lots of great things, and on the other hand, you might be a person who says, I don't have any talent, I just want to be a copywriter. I heard copywriters can make money. That's fine too. But you got to find something, just one thing. If you're a genius who has lots of talents, narrow it down to one. If you're someone who has no talents, figure something out. There's got to be something you're good at. Everybody's good at something. I narrowed mine down to, well, in my graduate school thesis, what I was writing was some differences between men and women, to put it simply. But one of the things I found in consumer psychology is that women are the main decision makers for how families spend their money, and they actually spend more money on B2C, in B2C businesses than men do. So what we've seen in copywriting techniques and strategies is a bias toward women, because what tends to work in selling a product tends to work on the majority. In other words, what works on the majority tends to work on women, because women are those in the majority. They are the ones who are spending most of the money, making most of the purchase decisions. So what about the men, was my question. Because there's got to be industries that are borrowing general copywriting practices that work on women and trying to apply them to men, but psychology has shown that men and women respond to advertising differently. So what I was doing was I was contacting companies that mainly cater to men, which were, health and finance usually. And I was saying the copywriting methods you're using right now could be greatly improved. Here is a free guide on how to market specifically to men. Well, my USP, my unique selling proposition, was I know how to write copy for a male demographic. Okay, so once you got that step down, you could develop a story. And of course, I just told you my real story of getting into copywriting. I was copywriting for myself, for my own translation business, but the story I wrote wasn't like that. Because when you write your story, and when clients ask you about, okay, who are you? You got to tell them a story, and it could be just a paragraph or so, but you want to give them background on who you are. They'll feel more comfortable working with you. So my story was more about my findings of what I just told you. The consumer psychology course taught me that men and women respond to advertising different. So I thought about this for a while, and I decided, I'm going to see if I can't actually improve these marketing methods that are focused on penis pills and fitness equipment, and see if we can actually increase conversions by using these simple tactics that appeal to males more than females. Okay, so that's my story. Now your niche is step 3, defining your niche. Your niche is not related to you. Your niche is the industry you want to work in. It has nothing to do with you. But you are going to niche yourself, which means you are going to define yourself as a copywriter for that industry. So I niched myself in a niche that didn't really exist, which is why I later changed my niche. My niche was the men's copywriter. I am a men's copywriter. I write for the male demographic. Unfortunately, nobody searches for that on Google, so my website was up there for a while with very few hits and even less leads. Nobody was typing in, how do I find a copywriter who writes only for men? Instead, if they had a product that's only for men, they would actually type in the product. How do I find a fitness copywriter? How do I find a financial copywriter? So I later changed my niche to that industry and got a lot more clients that way. I really recommend you do the same thing. Think about your niche. You could figure out your niche. If you want to be the general copywriter, which is what a lot of people want to do when they first start out, they just niche themselves. They don't niche themselves. They say, I'm a copywriter. Please hire me. Anybody, any business can hire me. Well, that's not going to work out, because if you haven't shown that you are in a certain industry, no one's going to look for you that way. They might type copywriter, and if you're super famous, if you've been in the industry for so long, in the copywriting industry for so long, and have written so many different areas of copy, yes, they will find you. People like Dan Kennedy will be found, even though he doesn't specify his industry. But for someone like you just starting out, you really need an industry. You need a niche. And that's the only way you're, first of all, going to be found, and second of all, be able to compete with all the other general copywriters who might have a little more experience than you. If you're a general copywriter, you're essentially saying, I want any work. You're looking needy, more or less. But if you're a niche copywriter, you, in some sense, have already said, I'm going to reject a lot of work because it simply doesn't fit my industry. And contradictorily, this actually helps you find more copywriting clients from outside your niche. It's amazing, but it happens. You will find that when you change your website from Bob the Copywriter to Bob the Fitness Copywriter, suddenly you're going to get a bunch of new clients from all these other industries you didn't even think about. They're going to be, people from the fitness related usually, but there are going to be people even from like the pet industry contacting you and saying, hey, I know you're fitness, I know you specified that you mainly only take fitness clients. but I think, we have something similar because I have this health product for dogs and I'd like you to help me sell it. So you really got to niche yourself. It's hard to make that move and say, I'm not going to be the general copywriter. I'm not going to let anybody contact me. But once you do make that move, you will not regret it at all. Now, after you make that move, you got to define your clients. So even in an industry that's pretty specific, there are many different types of clients. You can segment them in many ways. For example, size. For example, locale, someone who's local. You need to make sure that the type of clients you want is the type of client you're marketing to. So if you're only trying to find a handful of like B2B businesses, then your client is probably going to be like the CEO of a company or the director of marketing of a company. But if you're looking to have a handful of new projects and you don't want to get bored, so what you're going to do is you're going to have a constant inflow of small projects, then you might want to look at the individual business, the small business owner or the entrepreneur. So define your clients. Now that you know what industry you're in and who you're marketing to, you can finally set up your marketing methods. And I recommend to set up both a passive method and an active method. I talk about these methods in my book, but essentially they're what I just talked about. The passive method is a lead generation method. The active method is a prospecting method. Set both of those up so that you can focus on a specific demographic, which you have already determined by defining your clients. Once you do that, you more or less wait, because passive takes time. Active also takes time because you need people to respond. You also need to put in the time, if you're cold calling, for example, to get enough leads, or to try enough times, because what you're playing is a numbers game, to try enough times to actually get a client. So while you do that, I recommend you find your BATNA, which is, well, I'll talk about that in the guide. So, if you're interested, you can get the guide. Then study negotiations. Negotiations can help you improve your conversion rate when you get people on the phone. It can also improve the fees that you're able to request for a project. And then step 9, just pivot as needed. So you might find that you didn't choose the right niche at first. You might need a pivot there. You might find that your BATNA kind of sucks. You might need a pivot there. Anyway, it's a 9-step process, pretty easy. Go through that. It shouldn't take you more than a couple months. I was able to do this all, I think, in total, the movement to where I was, let me think, about from when I set my website up to when I got, I would say, a stable income from copywriting, probably took me about 3 months. Stable income. Stable being I was having enough clients every week to be busy. My first month I did get a handful, I'd say, of clients, but they were all small, and some of them were basically asking me for a reduced rate because I was being their outsourcer. I was prospecting to other copywriters, and essentially I was doing their dirty work for them. So that first month I didn't make a lot of money, but I did get a handful of clients, and a couple of those clients led to other clients. So it's a nice way to start out, but you really do need a BATNA. So check out my guide to figure out your BATNA. Again, the fast track really is that 9-step system, but some people are going to say that's not really fast. If it took you 3 months to get a stable income, I can't do that. I don't have 2 months to spare. So here's what I would do. I would simply find a business and offer them free copy. So you can use that critique method I actually talked about. You can contact a business and say, your website here has poor copy. Let me fix that for you for free. They will be grateful. Then you can network within the company. You say, I did this for free, but to show your thanks, would you be able to give me a referral to someone who could use my services for a fee? You just let them know who you are and let them know what you want to do. That's how you approach people after you've set up your business and you want to network. So you're not going to go up and ask someone to pay you right away. You're going to go up and give them something of value and then tell them why you're giving that to them for free. They will understand, they will be appreciative, and you will usually get at least one client from every free project you do. Now, when you do network with people, you need to make sure that what you provide them is better than what they expected. If you are saying, I'm going to fix your website, and you just go through and edit it like an editor, they'll be like, thanks, go on your way now. But if you really redesign that site, you're going to have to get them to trust you, but generally they're pretty trusting of people. I've never had anyone say, I'm not going to give you the password to my website. I've had people say, I'll set up an account for you, a separate account that allows you to edit, a certain amount of pages, and you can do that. But once you get in there, you can redesign the page via copywriting best practices and make it a higher converting page. You can even set up Google Analytics to show that the previous page wasn't converting as much as the new page. They will be impressed. You've proved yourself. Now that they have seen you as an expert in your field, they might say, cool, can you do this too? Can you do this as well? I've had people, for example, after I give them a free critique, they're like, thanks for the free critique. Now can I get a free critique for this website? You're not going in the right direction. So if these people are making more requests of you after you give them that free offer to them, and especially if you've blown them away with something better than what you promised them, don't follow their lead. Don't let them turn you into an intern. Because what's going to happen is what's happened to me before. You work with these guys for a while, and they think, well, this guy's, a new copywriter. He's getting experience, and he can put our name on his resume. But they don't actually ever expect to pay you. They don't ever have plans to hire you as an employee. So you're just going to be led along for quite a while. And this has happened to me quite a few times at the beginning of my copywriting career, especially with bigger companies. They say, what can you do here? After you give them that free copy or free redesign, they say, oh, great, what can you do here? And you do that a couple times, then you realize, I've been used. You should just get out of that as soon as you can and simply say, I've given you one piece of quality work. If you want more, you can hire me, or, perhaps you can give me a referral and I'll give you something back as well. Okay? Now, if you found that via Google Analytics you've made a sufficiently large improvement on conversion rates or bounce rate or something like that, you can actually write a success story for that project on your own personal website and then spread that around. Now, competitors will look at that and say, if so-and-so competitor, if company A is using this guy and he's made improvements for our competitor, why don't we steal this guy away from that competitor of ours? And they might actually reach out to you. Of course, you've made it apparent that you have this project because you're spreading it around through the web, through social media, and so on. But after they see that, they will often reach out for you and say, hey, we would like you to do something for us, and we're willing to give you a contract, or maybe a no-compete contract to where you don't work for anybody else. You can get such a job like that. Finally, contact competitors before getting hired. Right, okay. Forgot what I put this down for. But yes, you can actually contact competitors before you do the job, before you work for free for whatever company responded to your offer for free copywriting, and say, hey, I'm working on a copywriting project for company A. You say this to the competitors. I'm working on a copywriting project for competitor A. Would you also like to be a recipient of such a project? Otherwise, this competitor is going to get more traffic or more conversions than you are. And the other guy he won't assume that you're working for free. He will assume that the other company is paying you. So you can automatically get paid just by having a free job from a competitor. Now, if you want more information on this stuff, you can check out my copywriting guide, which is at damonverial.com/guide. This guide teaches pretty much everything I just said in this presentation, but in more depth. It's more step by step. You can follow this guide through, and if you have any questions, again, just give me an email at damon@stockbarometer.com. Barometer is the thing that you probably don't have hanging outside your house that checks the pressure, air pressure. You know. All right. Take care. Leave me any questions if you have any questions down below in the comment section. Please subscribe. Like the last video that I am very, very late on following up on, making good on my promise on. Like the last video, if this video gets 1,000 hits, I will make a follow-up to it.